Welcome to today's Global Connections program. I'm Bill Miller. Global Connections Television is a privately funded, independently produced program. The opinions expressed on Global Connections are solely those of the moderator and his guests. We'd invite our viewers to go to our website at www.globalconnectionstelevision.com to view previous programs. Also, if you're involved with a PBS or community access television station, or perhaps an educational institution that has an intra-campus television hookup, or you just have a computer or a website, you like our shows, and you want to share them, please feel free to do so. Global Connections Television is provided at no cost as a public service to help us better understand international issues and how they impact our lives. Today we're going to take a look at a very interesting women's cancer program in the country of Haiti. And my guest is the person who started this program. Dr. Robert Hilgers is the founder and CEO of the Women's Global Cancer Alliance in Haiti. Dr. Hilgers, welcome to today's Global Connections program.
Thank you, Bill.
I appreciate you being with me. Last time we did this several years ago, you were just starting the program, and now it's up and running. Basically, what is the program? Just a brief overview of it.
Well, basically, it is advancing the health care of women, but notably that of cancer care in under-resourced countries. And we selected Haiti, I think, partly because of opportunity, but also because of the fact that they represent an epicenter of cervical cancer throughout the world. They really have a very high incidence of this cancer.
Haiti has the highest, is it not?
Well, that's close to it, yes, but the problem is that those figures are an estimate, so it's a little bit hard to know exactly what the final figures are.
Now, you're a 501c3
that is
nonprofit,
correct.
So
yes.
If anybody wants to donate to you, they
yes.
can do it. And your website is www.womensgca.org.
That's correct.
So our viewers can go to that.
Yes.
We'll put that in the lower thirds.
Yes. Well, let me also note that we are in the process of building a new website. So this is the interval. So we are still using the old website, but very soon we'll have a new one. And we've seen part of it, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Very good, very good. Well, they'll find you. Not to worry, not to worry. Before we get too far into it, let's talk a little bit about Haiti.
Yeah.
Haiti is on the island of Hispaniola, which is between Cuba and Puerto Rico. And the Dominican Republic has about 2/3 of the island. Haiti has about 1/3. Yeah. It's about 27,000 square kilometers, roughly, which is about 12,000, 14,000 square miles, with a population of about 11 million people. How did you find Haiti when you went there, and what other physical aspects of Haiti can you tell us about today?
Well, I first and foremost, I've been to Haiti actually at the beginning in 1986, but fast forward that, I went down there in 2008 to visit a friend of mine who at that time was a fellow GYN oncologist. He was the head of the General Hospital, or the University of Haiti Hospital, and so I was looking for something to do, and we, in a matter of discourse, we just chit-chatted back and forth, and he told me that Haiti has the highest incidence of cancer of the cervix in the world. Well, I was looking for something, and this was just the absolute most ideal situation I could have been put in, because my resume includes taking care of a little bit over 1,000 women with cancer of the cervix, so I had a broad range of experience.
Now, as I recall, it was a fact, in 2010, Haiti was rocked by a devastating, about an 8.3 earthquake
That's correct.
Literally destroyed about 80% of Port-au-Prince, the capital. The buildings, a couple 100,000 people died. They were dispossessed. How is Haiti bouncing back from that? Are they recovering from that?
They are.
Is there still rubble around?
No, yes, there is still rubble, but it's a little bit hard to sort that out from just regular rubble as opposed to post-earthquake type of rubble. I was down there within 2 weeks of the earthquake. I went down just as a medical relief physician. And it was a horrible experience. I wish that I could have brought some photographs to show you, because I heavily photographed all the things that I saw. But on the other hand, there also were some very, very difficult scenes where people got crushed by buildings and that sort of thing. So
Right. I remember too, the United Nations peacekeepers were down there at that time. They lost several people. Of course, the UN operates on the ground down there with the World Food Program, with the UN Children's Fund, and maternal and child health care programs, and several of the UN people were killed. But it was just absolutely horrible. But Haiti has had such a tragic history. It's a lovely. The people are great. The culture is great, but the history is just tragic. It just lurched from one tragedy to another. And of course, it is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. I think the per capita income is about $900 a year in Haiti. So it's a challenge. Now, when you went in there, when we walk into a country, I've worked in developing countries before, we just don't walk in and say, well, we've got all the answers. How did you have to build the confidence with the people. You have to build the trust. You have to develop networks. How did you do that when you went in?
Well, let me first preface the comment you just made through a quote that I will never forget, and that's a quote from Peter Drucker, or at least alleged to be from Peter Drucker, and that is that
the management expert.
Culture eats strategy for breakfast. And the point of the matter is you can go in with the finest strategic plan in the world, and if the culture doesn't accept it, doesn't understand it, and does not incorporate it within their culture, it's not going to go anyplace at all. And the thing that we tried very hard was to not only seek out the talent and to mix with the ordinary people, so to speak, through immersion and that sort of thing, but also to gain their trust. That was our end point. We wanted their trust, and I'll have to say that probably over 95% of the people that we deal with trust us.
That is very good. Yeah. That's very good. And that does not come automatically. You have to earn that.
We
trust.
Really worked hard, and we worked very hard in developing relationships.
In fact, you worked so hard, they made you, an honorary member of the OBGYN community in Haiti? Is that right?
I have been. It came as a real surprise. I was named an honored member of the Haitian OBGYN Society. I have given an academic talk to them twice now. And at least from my point of view, I hope I have a very good relationship with them. They're really an outstanding group of people.
It certainly sounds as though you do.
Yeah.
I think you're right on target. It looks good. Well, let's talk about, now you're operating not in Port-au-Prince, the capital. You're nearby, is that right?
Yes,
but where are you operating?
We're in Gonaïves.
Gonaïves.
It's the third largest city of Haiti. It is a community that for the most part is pretty quiet, but it also is the leader in developing revolutions. And
that's an interesting industry to have.
That's right. But that's why people don't want to go there. So we went there. And I have to say the people are wonderful. And we have, we've loved working there. We, in 2015, we opened up the first full-time cervical cancer prevention clinic. It's a screening clinic. It's open 5 days a week, and it's now, we've screened over 2,500 women against cancer of the cervix, and that's, in our mind, probably a small number as opposed to we would like to see that to be a larger number.
Now, with cancer of the cervix, if you have early detection, is it not possible to just really nip this in the bud, so to speak, and save literally thousands of lives if the women can come in and they can be screened? And what is that process like? How do you reach out to them? How do they come in? What's your procedure?
The biggest problem is that in the early phases of the development cancer of the cervix, which is, by the way, driven by an infection, being infected with the virus, the human papillomavirus, or HPV. And that virus is silent. So in the first two phases, that is during the infectious phase and also in the early pre-cancer phase, the woman is caught by surprise because she does not know that she's being taken up by the virus. It is only when they start to develop symptoms that they they realize what's going on. And then it is too late, because when they start to have some bleeding or some pain, they usually have some rather advanced cancer, and we have no way of treating them. We don't have the funds. They've got to go either to Dominican Republic or Cuba or one of these other places where they have radiation therapy. Haiti does not have a cancer treatment center, and that's a real drawback.
Are there any plans possibly to have a cancer treatment center in the future?
There are plans on the table. We actually have a copy of the architectural plans. But when they get the funds, they have a way of disappearing. And so they just never get there. And then there's tension between the academic people and the people in practice, because the people in practice don't necessarily want to give up their patient, because they're the ones that are paying the rent. And so it's, it comes down to just raw economics, so to speak.
Right. Now, when you're doing you're doing the screening, what type of medication do you use? How do you tell if somebody has cervical cancer or has the potential of having cervical cancer?
Well, it's very interesting. Cervical cancer can be broken into two groups. And in the group of patients that we take care of, Pap smears are very limited in terms of opportunity for the patient to pay for. And so we have to find another way. And the other way is that we paint the cervix, which is household vinegar. And that wipes it off, cleans it up. We take a look at it with a pair of medical binoculars. That's called a colposcope. And if we see a lesion, then right then and there, we go ahead and freeze the cervix. We try to do everything in a single visit, as opposed to the medical care in this country, where it's not uncommonly set up in multiple visits, in the sense that you have your pap smear, you get a call from the doctor's office to come back for a biopsy. If there's something, then you come back and you are treated and that sort of thing. But for these women, they are just don't have pap smears that are available to them, because they do not have, they just don't have the income.
And of course, household vinegar is plentiful and it's very cheap, which makes it even better. So you really have a great way to help identify if they have this problem. The key is to get them in early to make sure that they go through this screening
when they're still asymptomatic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How do you reach out to women? How do you advertise to
Well,
let them know?
it's mostly word of mouth. But the other part of it is that we've held education sessions in a church right next to the clinic. And we get good crowds. But what we have found out is we have to continually reinforce the message to these women as to how important it is. The Haitian women, the group of patients that we have, not only have very, very limited income, but as a spin-off of that, they have limited education. And as a result, they don't always understand the relationships with going to the doctor when they do not have symptoms. They don't understand well preventive care. And pap smear is really all about preventive medicine.
Now, you mentioned the city you're operating in, Gonavise, is the third largest city in Haiti.
Yes.
Of course, Port-au-Prince, the capital, is the largest.
Yes.
But are most of the women from that urban area, or do they come in from out in the hinterland, from the rural areas?
Both. But most of them come in from the city. And we do get some from the region around it. But we also get people from, for instance, Leogan, which might be 140 miles away. The women get on the bus. They get a $5 bus ticket. They come up in the morning, take it back at night, and they just because they want to be sure that they're okay. And but getting the word out right now is one of our major goals, because we think that raising awareness and public health education are key to moving all of this forward, because they have to be screened. Prior to our coming in, right now, the majority of the women in this city remain unscreened. And so we just don't catch them if they don't come in.
You mentioned $5, and to us, that's a venti cappuccino at Starbucks.
Yeah,
it's not a large amount of money, but to these folks, that is a lot of money to buy a ticket.
Correct.
So that shows their dedication and the fact that they want to find out what the problem is. When your total income is under $900 a year and you take $5 for one bus ride, that is a major commitment.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Do you have any funding to help women who can't pay for the bus ride? I know you're limited on your funds too.
The problem with that is that we don't always recognize, or it doesn't come to our attention.
Right.
We've had pastors of some churches that will have a van, and they'll load up the van and they'll come in, let's say, every Friday morning for maybe 10 weeks in a row, and because they're concerned about the health of the people in their church. They'll have those kind of arrangements, but the whole financial, let me back off, if I could just have a couple of seconds here.
Sure, please.
We say that HPV causes cervical cancer, but the co-carcinogen, and the word carcinogen means that it causes cancer. The co-carcinogen is poverty. And so that the patients that we see are impoverished, and as you said, maybe 900, but they, $60 to $90 a month at the best. And then they're trying to get their kids educated, they're trying to put some food on the table and that sort of thing. And so what happens? They don't go to the doctor because they're feeling well, and why would you ever pay a doctor when you feel well? And it's counterintuitive if you can get the picture painted and you can get the story out.
The annual physical is not part of the vocabulary.
No,
in
it is
many
not.
respects.
No, exactly.
It certainly is not.
Yeah.
No. Well, this is a major program. Now, do you have partners who are working with you? I know years ago you and I talked, and I think you were involved in some Rotary clubs. And now you're based in Louisville, Kentucky.
Yes.
In the United States. But you were working with some Rotary clubs over in Louisville and throughout District 6710, Central and West Kentucky.
Yeah.
Are Rotary clubs still involved, or are there other groups involved?
We are working with, I should say, the Rotary Club in Gonaive. And they have a club that has 30 members and probably about 18 that are regulars. They're the ones that come to the monthly or to the weekly meeting and that sort of thing. But what we found out in working with them, they are just not at this point in time mature enough to carry out a major project like a global grant. And we actually were working with them on a global grant, and we just felt that we could not progress any further because we might not have it approved, and we were not willing to take the risk under those circumstances. But yes, we've given a good number of talks throughout the 6710, as you said, on this subject, so Rotary has been always, I think, very supportive and that sort of thing.
In Rotary, well, there are 1.2 billion, million. My mistake, a huge difference there.
That's right.
1.2 million Rotarians in about 35,000 clubs around the world. And a large number of those clubs are looking for international projects.
Exactly.
And they're Rotary's in over 200 countries and territories around the world. It's the largest service operation in the world, and Lions International is right behind Rotary, and then you have Kiwanis, which is not quite as large. But the point is that they do look for partners, and they're anxious to get involved in these. So hopefully we'll be able to connect with some of these other clubs.
The other thing is, I think we really learned a good lesson from this, what we call a beginning relationship, because I think we were part of the failure, meaning that we didn't. It was the first time that we had actually got involved in the process of working with another club on the global grant. And I think we made some mistakes along the way.
Mm-hmm. What, as you look back, what were some of the major challenges, or what do you see as one or two of the major challenges? I'm sure funding is always a problem. It's always a challenge, no matter what we're doing. But what were some of the others that you ran into?
Well, I think probably I've already mentioned them. I mean, I think that
the cultural issue.
It's the cultural issues, and culture is one of the barriers of towards screening for cancer of the cervix, and income is a big part of it. I mean, in the old days, we looked at cervix as something totally different, but now what we are doing is we are looking at it. You can divide cancer of the cervix into two income categories. You can have the upper class, upper resource group, and then the lower or the mid resource group. Now these are two groups that are actually defined by the World Health Organization, and or the World Bank, I should say. And the low resource nation is defined by $1,000 or less per annum in terms of a salary. So it is very, very little. And then you go up the scale, but you're in the upper class, in that elite class, if you make over $12,000 a year. And this relates now to this whole, to global health, to developing country type of situations. So we fit in the lower class. I mean, in the sense that that's the group that we are taking care of. My nurse, our nurse, just within the last 2 months, I asked her a question, and she said, you know, half of the patients that we see have never gone to school. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's pretty hard sometimes to get the message across under those circumstances. Mm-hmm. But I think we're doing all the right things. What we are lacking right now is funding, and what we're lacking is sort of the final solution in terms of education and raising awareness, and conducting a campaign very much like you would with polio or with HIV/AIDS, because that's really what has to happen now. Over 90% of all cancers of the cervix occur in developing countries.
Seems like that would be an ideal role for a Rotary Club, to help you advertise, to get the public information out, to the public relations information out to the public, or if you could bring educators in, the superintendents of schools, people like that, TV stations, folks like that who could help advertise and push that message out. It's extremely important to do that. And so I'm sure you're probably looking at all that right now.
Well, we are.
Okay, but, great.
But you have to have funding to get it.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to go any place without a little something.
That's right. Well, Bob, the hardest question, the last 30 seconds we have, you started there, I guess, right before the earthquake, 2010.
Yeah,
roughly.
2008.
2008. So you've been there a little over 11 years. Almost 12 years. Just briefly, what have you seen as some of the major positive developments that have taken place in that country? And that's a hard question in 30 seconds, I know.
Well, the return of tourism. There's no question about that, and that has been significant. Secondly, the cleanup of the rubble that was left over from the earthquake and that sort of thing. But now they've had a setback. In other words, there has been real civil chaos over the last 6 to 9 months over some missing funds. And they actually have now captured the warlord, the one that was leading the, and actually he was from Gonaive. So I was told that I could not return to Gonaive until this got settled. And now things have cleared and I'm going to be able to go back. But, you know, those are the vagaries. That doesn't put us off. I mean, you know, those are the people that need the care the most. And if we don't stick with it, a whole variety of things fall apart.
Well, this Women's Global Cancer Alliance is extremely important, and you're doing really remarkable work down there on a very limited budget, I'm sure. But thank you for bringing us up to date on this very important program. And I want to thank you for a very interesting and a very informative program.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Nice seeing you again.
Thanks. I'm Bill Miller. Thank you for joining us on Global Connections Television.